All right. Hey, everybody. It's Tim Walker with 3DIQ. I've got Andy Moss, co-founder at 3DIQ, and then, of course, Lauren Jones, the founder at Leap Consulting Solutions. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. And Andy?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're here today to talk a little bit about something, that I think, Lauren, you're really passionate about, right? And that is helping staffing companies, especially those that interact with Bullhorn Marketplace, know where to start, the tools, the processes, the automations, everything that everybody's talking about right now. Maybe a little guidance for how to start navigating those waters, especially as, automation is such a hot topic in our industry. Just to start, what things do you look for to even start to think about whether a company is ready to maybe even just dip their toe into automations and marketplace partnerships and things like that?
Sure. Well, when you're talking about automation, good operational practices are sort of the foundation of that. And I feel like if you don't have your house in order, it's really hard to implement automation technology specifically. And then I think you also have to really be willing to take a look at sort of systemic issues. If you're having this overarching problem, is it cause and effect of something else? And so I think you have to really be willing to sort of open the kimono, as it were, and be super, super honest about what's going right and what's going wrong. And if you can do that, I think if you can really be honest about where your organization is, I think that that is the beginning of a really, really good conversation of where you can get some quick wins, if that's what you're looking for with technology, or whether you can put together a longer term architectural roadmap that's more well defined.
And Andy, I know a lot of people may not know this, but aside from starting 3DIQ, you've been in the business for 25 years and actually own and started your own staffing business, what, about 12 or 13 years ago? What experiences maybe have you had with that very thing, right? How do you get your house in order?
Well, I think anytime you're a owner of a small to mid-sized staffing agency, you have to take into account we wear a lot of hats. Automation is great. It's unbelievable. But as the founder, if you interview and you do demos and you see all these great tools, they're not just affecting you, they're affecting some other close leadership that may not see the same things as you see it, or they don't need a tool, or you're throwing something on them. It's like, okay, that's another automation. They may not be ready. So communicating inside your own staff to say, hey guys, what are your holdups? Where are your time crunches? Where can we add a tool that drives to the bottom line? So small to medium-sized companies like mine, I have to have return fairly quickly. I don't have a year to see a return. So if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that sort of speaks to the thing, something, Lauren, about, whether or not, and Andy talked about, the different stakeholders and things like that. That sort of, to me, speaks to this idea. Is this a top-down thing or a bottom-up thing? Like, where do you start when you get buy-in, on these sorts of technologies?
I like to think of it more as like an outward in approach. If you go top down, I feel like you might miss opportunities. I think it's more of a fluid conversation. I think you need to, and I always try and buy on behalf of the field, really trying to listen to the field and where there are functional or service problems and think with user experience in mind. So if a recruiter is having a problem getting applications to their actual job, is that a job description problem, or is that a technology problem, or is that, understanding that we need to listen to the field and buy on behalf of the field, and then in the same sort of priority is that user experience. And then, so from the top down doesn't make much sense to me. I feel like it's outward in is where we need to really be looking at where we have opportunities, and listening to candidates, listening to customers, and listening to our field ops to understand where we have opportunities for improvement.
Yeah, and do you think there's a difference? Because I know you've consulted and helped technology buys for small companies all the way up to some of the biggest firms, in the country. Is there a difference in how you approach, maybe a small to mid-size under 20 million, as opposed to a large corporate staffing company?
I think that this statement stands true, and it comes from my dad. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So regardless of size, if you are putting the work in from a planning perspective of what the desired outcome is and work it backwards from there, I don't think size matters at that point. You may just be applying more resources in the process. I think if you plan it out appropriately, and you apply the right resources, you're going to end up with the desired end result. I'm so passionate about making sure that you have roadmap architecture, annual roadmap architecture, inclusive of product maintenance, because that's going to help keep you honest and focused. And again, if you're going to implement a technology, regardless of how large you are, and I've done this for small and large customers, the functional process is the same in planning out what it is you want the end result to look like.
Right, and that end result has to be buy-in, right? Has to be adoption too, and that's maybe too, Andy, why it can't be a top-down thing, even in a smaller organization with even 10, 15, 20, 50 employees. You can't just you have to get buy-in from really everybody.
Well, you have to listen to your staff.
Yeah, and I've always looked at corporate as a servant to the field, and maybe that I'm a little unique in that way. I never looked at corporate as a top-down. I looked at it as the field is out there doing the work, and I need to be a servant to understand, what their real challenges are, and because in most instances, especially on the large side, you're paying corporate overhead. You're paying it's on your P&L. So I feel like we have to earn our keep. From a corporate perspective, And
that's where as an owner of an agency, my job is to remove rocks, remove anything that gets in the way of my recruiters or sales force. And in this market, with unemployment being 3%, we're begging people to come to work. And whatever I can add in my business that helps my recruiters, is it making contact with individuals? Is it texting? Is it making their automation flow? It has to drive to that bottom line to make their job easier. We are in a human business. We have to talk. We have to use our voices. We can't automate everything. We just want to use tools that get that person into a position that we have a face-to-face. That's never going away. I'm against anything that takes that piece of our business, because it's a human. We're in a human capital. So we're frontline. So whatever I can add to my recruiters, I'm going to do it. It has to work. So.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about specifically maybe small, let's just say small staffing companies, which make up, a large percentage of the firms, here in the US, I think maybe the first thing that jumps to mind is, if I'm a small owner, pricing. Is that what you find typically is one of the a big hurdle, is what's this going to cost? Or are there other things that typically come up first when you're talking about smaller or maybe mid-sized companies?
So you'll never find me looking at a tool with price in mind, ever. I feel like I walk in with bias if I'm thinking about price. So I really want to look at functionally what it can bring to the organization. And then, then you got to brush off your negotiating chops and go from there, right? Or understand what's sort of a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 approach to what the problem you're trying to solve for is, and see if there are options, from a candidate engagement automation, right? Sense is sort of the Rolls Royce. And then you've got some really good automation going on with Herefish, product bullhorn. But if you're approaching it, you just want to dip your toe in there, there's some great functionality with TechSteps. And they may already own that solution. So I typically look at these with small agencies. What do they have? Can they capture any more opportunity with partners that they currently have? Are there beta opportunities? That's a great way to save money as a new organization, is go and see where you can beta. It's how I have been able to create long-term partnerships with new technologies that are coming out, because you sort of got in at the ground floor, so you get a better price and you get to sort of massage technology so that it's performing for you. So I think if you're a small agency, look at what you already have and what you could, sort of how you could make that better. Look for beta opportunities with either potential partners or the current partners that you have. So if they do have a new product, it's a great opportunity to do that. And then, never go into a conversation with price in mind. I think it just sort of jades the way that you look at it. And you can negotiate some really, really great prices with really expensive tools by doing the what's in it for you and what's in it for them. Part of making a product better is being able to contribute to the betterment of it. And if you can do that successfully, I mean, a lot of more expensive products are willing to do just that.
Yeah, I think a couple of points. The first is that I'm absolutely 100%. You're right on the nose about, especially startup and early stage companies, even like 3D-IQ. We oftentimes, give price breaks and all sorts of things because we want feedback directly from those customers, and we're at a stage where we can offer those things to people, right? We can offer custom development. We can offer them to have a hand in sort of guiding and creating something. So I think that's a really good point. And I think the other thing you mentioned about specifically, let's just take Bullhorn for an example. A lot of companies out there, even if they're small, there's probably things they can do right now today with Bullhorn, just out of the box, to start automating things. Andy, we were just talking about that too today, because there's so much in Bullhorn that I don't know what percentage a normal company actually utilizes, but it's got to be a small percentage. And there's stuff you can do today that to help automate things.
Yeah, I mean, adoption, we talked early about adoption, right? And adoption is more than half the battle, I feel like. But I always say, look first inwardly and see what solutions you might already have that you just haven't explored. So often, especially with large companies, I'll see that they've purchased these tools and they don't have, regular upgrade maintenance going on. So they're on version 27 and the tool's already on 34. What could they have captured in that time? You can't just look at buying software and just the action is buy. The action is buy and maintain and expand.
Great. I totally agree. I think every demo you get of a tool is going to look amazing. I got to have it. And that's why we have a bunch of car lots. You're going to walk away with a car. Demoing a product, even if it's ours or whatever, you want to make sure it's usable. Get your hands on it, get a free trial of it, pound it through your processes, and make sure it works. I don't think you could ever buy a tool without running it through its paces. I wouldn't do it as a business owner. That's why we have a free trial with 3D-IQ. It's just, it has to be proven in the field. And again, if it doesn't deliver at the bottom line, we're not using it.
Not all my pilots, end in a purchase. Some of my pilots, they go to my pilot graveyard, and but more often than not, we're able to create a business case, because I think if you're gonna pursue something, you should do it adding to the ROI of the organization. But I think if you go into any sort of thing going, I'm going to create a business case for this tool, a benefit to the monetary benefit to the organization, I think the end result is significantly better.
So let's talk, maybe move a little bit into specifics here. What are some of the low-hanging fruit, I guess, in automation that companies can, where should they start? What are some of the easy things to fix?
If you look at just industry statistics as it pertains to redeployment, if I look at, I think the latest stats are still staggering. It used to be 2 out of 10 candidates were redeployed. Now I think it's 4 out of 10 candidates. We've gotten a little bit better at it. But even if you think about that amount of waste, how much money did you spend to get that one candidate? And you're going to put 4 of them, to work one time? That's maddening to me. when I think about waste and I think about profit, you know, and wait, just lost opportunity, I look at redeployment as one of our biggest opportunities to go in and automate. You know, I did a survey in my own backyard when I ran Northern California of essentially how much opportunity did I really miss out on? How much revenue did I really miss out on when I wasn't engaging with candidates prior to their assignment end? So we did a little study, and in my backyard, I lost out on an average of 31 days of revenue with candidates leaving their job early because they got nervous. And so what we started doing is we started engaging with them 60 days before their assignment ended, right? Hey, your assignment's going to end in 60 days. Don't be nervous. We're here. Here are a couple things you need to do. Let's add your skills to your resume. Make sure you check in with your recruiter. And we did it at 60, 45, 30, 15, and then on their last day. And the entire time you're sort of hand-holding this, don't forget about us, right? Why is it that candidates aren't thinking of the agency they work for when they need to work again? So I think if I were to look at just lowest hanging fruit, one thing that I was going to automate, it would be the process of what I call sort of career forwarding, you know, making sure that they're forwarding their career with you and not with somebody else, and not being afraid. You have to create an environment where a candidate feels comfortable doing that. Hey, don't forget, we're going to talk about your next job. And if you're not happy, you need to let me know. I mean, it's all about communication, and some of these tools can really help enhance and improve that. And that's, for me, I look at tools like Sense as revenue preservation, and then you get into revenue generation when you get into things like redeployment and referrals. And but revenue preservation is equally as important with automation tools and making sure that you're able to mitigate problems before they actually become problems, and mitigating that turnover. And so for me, the first thing I would do is address automation on the redeployment side.
Yeah, and I think there's such a huge part of that too. That's branding and marketing, and that's something that in my experience, you know, we think very little about as staffing people. You know, I guess, and even when we think about branding, we think about it as my job postings, or, you know, my logo somewhere, or the ads that I run on the radio, or the signs that I put in the street. We don't think about, you know, our people and our candidates as a product and something that we need to brand and we need to market to. Andy, I know that's something that's always been important to you from a perspective of, you know, of how we present and how we communicate with candidates and clients.
Well, I think in our staffing business, we deal a lot with engineering and IT. We have temp to hire. We've got this individual 6, 9, 12 months on contract, and they're our best sales rep for future business. They will go direct with that company. What will they say about my staffing company? Will they give us, they only saw me once every, 4 months, took me to lunch, or are we in constant contact because they're going to refer us or not? And so you have to treat that person like gold. However you do it, but they're your best marketing tool. But we do forget about it, and it's you could spend all the money you want on social media and throw your name everywhere, but if your candidates won't even give you a referral, you've missed the boat big time. So we spend a lot of time with our contractors and make sure they're happy, with everything from getting their time card in to, there are lunches. There are opportunities like that, from a Christmas card to as many touches as you can.
Yeah, there's some newer tools out there on the candidate engagement. Obviously, 3DIQ deals with client engagement, but there are some different tools out there in the candidate engagement side too, as far as onboarding and making sure people are up to date. Sense is one of them, obviously, but are there a few others that come to mind, Lauren?
Oh gosh. So yeah, you said this is a human industry, and we've talked sort of, let me stand upon my soapbox, because this is looking for a job is probably one of the most humbling experiences you can go through. You're looking for acceptance looking for people or someone to say yes to you. And that is a humbling experience to go through. And I think so often that we forget, with this sort of attraction of the beautiful technologies that are out there, that these are human beings. And I think if we have to have thoughtful, mindful ways of implementing technology, and if we're not using those terms to implement technology, we're doing a service to this mindful industry. So there are technologies like I'm a big fan of Flash Recruit. I love the thought of being able to add a chat functionality sort of anywhere, directly, instead of putting a bot there, putting a human being there. It's integrated with Bullhorn. It tells the recruiter when there's a chat for them. 3D-IQ, I love the fact that you guys, look, one of the biggest impediments in being able to make a placement is getting feedback. Timely feedback at that, and half the time it's just a timing thing, where you may not have been the last person that called and said, hey, did you see my resume? You have the opportunity there to get some immediate feedback, which is a huge problem. So anywhere or any technology where we're creating connectivity between people faster, those are the things that I'm looking for. Super Jazz, like Checkers, been able to make, background checks sexy. They've got a very sexy integration with Bullhorn. So, I've got my eye working. Gosh.
Yeah. What else are you seeing out there right now? Just overall in the industry?
Yeah. Workin is coming out of the gate. They're not a competitor to the staffing industry, which was sort of the shift gig, issue and where we see issues with the Winolos and Blue Crew jobs, right? Their software as a service supporting the staffing industry. And I think what I look at is, where are we creating experiential choices for candidates? Because experiential choices are going to allow for a diverse generational response to your postings or to your advertisements or what have you. So if you're mindful of ensuring that you have experiential choices, whether it's chat now, apply now, work now, with a function like Workin, whatever generation is clicking upon your job or your website is going to have the choice they need to engage with you. So, more than thinking about adding another logo to your tech stack, think about the people that you're trying to attract, and how they want to engage with you. And I think if you have that sort of general diversity in mind with the technology that you implement, you're going to have no problem getting the talent that you need to walk in your door. But, like I said, any technology for me that's connecting people faster is usually where I'm going to gravitate. And I'll take the Mayas, which I think is a brilliant technology, but I think I would apply it more on candidates that I already have, right? Where I can sort of set the tone of, hey, this is how we communicate with you, through our bot or through talking through this automation, whatever it is. It allows you to set the stage, I think, a little bit more, whereas when you are engaging with talent right out of the gate, that's your first chance to make a good first impression. And I want that to be with a recruiter.
I agree.
So that's just me. I know I don't speak for everyone, and I know it's a controversial topic, which I love those. So that's where I sit, and those are the technologies I'm excited about right now.
Yeah, that's great, and it shouldn't be controversial, but it is sometimes. This idea, and we talk about this all the time. The idea that our branding are our recruiters. Like, if they can't portray, if they can't communicate with candidates, if they can't give them a smooth and engaging experience, nothing else matters, right? So it may also be a good time to mention a conference like Staffing Tech for companies that are into looking at some of these different technologies and taking that approach. If you've never been to it before, it's a different conference and how they set it up. We did it last year. We'll be there again this year. And it gives you the opportunity to one-on-one meet with different technologies and talk about these things and really probe, how their solutions might fit the industry and fit what you're trying to accomplish.
I talked to Maurice yesterday, and what I love about Staffing Tech, I love all the conferences. Don't get me wrong. I go to all, I do all the things, but there's a tangibility to Staffing Tech where you're walking away with something that you can execute on. Just the figure eight that Maurice just put out with the whole sort of work. I was like, this is amazing awesomeness. There's not another word that I can put on there that this is sweet spot. And so I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. And I'm super excited about it because I feel like especially your technologists are going to walk away with something tangible and good strategies. And there are a lot of evangelists out there, and we're all putting careful consideration to how we're doing that.
And I think the big thing with Staffing Tech in mind is you don't even have to be buying now.
Right.
You will buy. You will eventually have a need for something, and being able to go to these conferences and see our whole industry is going through this entire tech revolution. And if you've been in it as long as I have, you've seen it from, Rolodexes and phone books to now, auto dial and everything. So it's amazing when you sit in a room with some of the very smart individuals that a lot of them are in staffing and have created a tool to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even if you're not even buying at the moment, you need to go and see it. It's just, it's going to help your business one way or the other.
Yeah, even if you're able to capture something new out of, maybe you already own Daxtra. Maybe you're looking for better inventory utilization and you find that Daxtra has Smart Match or, whatever it is. I think that regardless of whether or not you're buying now, buying later, or you're not capturing the most out of what you've got, I think that there's something really tangible. Even, dare I say, even sort of the traditional job boards. Indeed's got 1 million new products, events being one of them. It's a new take on sort of an old practice, and I've seen a lot of success with some of the sort of sub products of more traditional products. So I think again, Staffing Tech's a great opportunity to go get something tangible and sort of take it away and either be able to execute now or plan, have something tangible to plan.
Yeah, great. So to wrap up here, what else are you excited about right now? What are you working on? What's keeping you motivated these days? What's coming down the pike?
Well, obviously, I've been busy with Leap Consulting and just sort of plotting my future. I know that no matter what I want to do, I want to continue to evangelize a message of thoughtful, mindful execution of technology. And so regardless of what umbrella I have over me, that's where you'll find me, and that's what I'm excited about. I really want to make an impact in the industry in making sure that we don't lose sight of this being human connectivity at its core. And if I can continue to, let's get rid of the resume. If there was one thing I could do in the industry, if there was one thing I was super passionate about, it's like put the resume down and just have a conversation. Take the job off the table, understand who this human being is, and then make an appropriate match from there, and help your technology work around that sort of message. The innovation and creativity that I see going on right now it astounds me and excites me every single day, and what keeps me getting up in the morning. So you'll find me evangelizing the message of thoughtful, mindful technology.
Yeah, we all need to hear that. So don't sit down, keep standing up, because I think that's so valuable in our industry. What about you, Andy? What's going on with 3D-IQ?
The 3D-IQ is, we're off and running and having a great time with it. We've customers right and left that are just, it's great to see a customer come on and like, wow, I didn't realize you guys were here. We even did this. That's the fun, is to be able to change them from, take them from old thinking to new thinking. It's like this, it's a great tool. It's I have an agency. I developed this to fix a problem. and it's fixing it. And it's great to see that implemented into the workspace, and other peers around me say, hey, this is great. For us, it's just getting our word out of who we are. Give us a shot. But our customers are also our R&D department. They're throwing some great ideas at it. We're implementing them as we go. We're one of those type of companies that's not, hey, this is just what it is. I mean, every week we've got some new release coming out that has just great additions, and that comes from our customer base. And we love it. We absolutely love it. For 25 years, I've seen us serve steaks on paper plates is kind of my motto. We have a great product, but we do a really bad job of presenting them to our customers, the buyers that give us money. And now we're changing that, and I'm passionate about it.
Yeah. So cool.
Great. Yeah. And Andy, thank you. Lauren, thank you so much. It's always amazing. And you always, you're encouraging and, but also challenging, I think, for our industry. So thank you so much. And we're excited to continue talking about this sort of stuff.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.